Hi everybody, this is Oksana, and in this video we're going to be making this cute little dangly pendant. It uses a small round cabochon right there, and before we get started I just want to say I hope that you will consider subscribing to my channel if you're not subscribed already, and if you are already subscribed, thank you so much. It really helps me immensely, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like, thumbs up down below. And of course, if you want to see more future videos, just hit that notification bell and you'll be notified when I make new videos, which is every weekend. So let's go ahead and start making this pendant. The wire that I'm going to be using is 20 gauge copper square wire. I get my wire from riogrande.com and it is dead soft, and we're just going to be using one piece of this wire. And it is 7 inches long, and then my stone here, it's 12 millimeters. So here it is. It's just a little round synthetic opal, and it's fairly flat here. It is a cabochon, so it's got the flat back and the domed front. So the first thing we're going to do is find the middle of our wires, and then you need something to make a small circle. So I'm going to be using this these bail making pliers, but you could probably use like a pen or a pencil or something. That would be fine too. So I'm going to bend this around the largest circle on these. And that's something that you might want to play around with. If you you'll see how mine turns out, and then you can make the decision whether you want your circle to be maybe a little smaller. It's up to you. It's just like a slightly different look. So now I'm just reinforcing the little bends there, so my wires just line up nicely together like this. And then we're just going to connect them together so they stay. So in order to do that, I'm going to be using some half round wire, and this is 22 gauge half round wire. So I'm just going to grab a little end of that and just wrap it around. You don't have to do very many, probably like 5. I'm going to go for 5. I think that's a good amount. And then just trim your little wire ends. It doesn't matter which side, just make sure that it's on the same side, and that will be your front, because the stone will go on the front and the stone will cover up our little wire ends. So I'm just going to press down on those right here. And then it's up to you. You have several options here. So first of all, you could hammer this for strength. I'll probably do that off camera. You don't have to. It still works if it's not hammered. And then another option is these wires here. So we are going to separate them out. And actually, let's see that the spacing is good here. So our stone is going to go like right here. It's going to be like that. Maybe it's easier to see this way. There we go, just like that. All right, so the spacing's all good. So these wires here, you can twist them by just holding it with your pliers and giving it a twist. The only thing about that is they're going to go on your stone, and then we're going to continue them, and we're going to do like a little design up top, as you saw, with them. So it's kind of hard to know where to stop the twist if you want the wire to be twisted going across a stone but then not twisted up here. So the easiest way to solve that is just to twist the whole wire and have it just be twisted from now on, both for going across a stone and for going across here, or just leave it untwisted. I think I'm just gonna leave it untwisted for mine. So now we're just gonna take our stone, we're gonna cover the little wire ends. So we're going to put it on the side that is the front. So this is the back. It's actually easier to do this from the back because you can make sure that everything is nice and centered from the back. that this thing is right in the middle, and we're just bending our wires forward like this. And then if I flip over to the front, this is what it looks like. So we're going to hold the bottom. We're going to take this wire and we're just going to give it a little bit of a curve because we want to fit it through that circle from front to back. Okay, like this. And same thing with this other wire. Just do it slow and careful. Give it a little curve. If you rush it, you might put kind of kinks and some sharp bends into your wire. It will kind of bend up your wire a little bit, but it's nothing we can't fix. So here's what it looks like. It's holding the very edges of our stone. So I'm just gonna take this wire and bend it. And when I do that, it kind of covers slightly more of the edge of my stone. You can even just kind of push it forward in order to make it do that. All right, so now it's holding the edges of our stone, and our stone should be pretty secure. Like, it can't pop through the front. It can't pop through the sides because we're holding it here on the thinner edge. It's domed, so this part is thicker, so it can't really pop out the sides, and it can't pop out the front. And unless you made this gap really large on the bottom here, it shouldn't be able to pop out the bottom either. So it should be all good. So we're just going to continue bending these wires towards the front here like this, and now the stone feels even tighter because that like tightens it up. And so you want to take these wires just one at a time. They might have got a little bit disheveled when we were putting them through. This is another opportunity to twist if you wanted twisted wires. So what I would do if you want twisted wires is I would line it up. So I'm just going to press down on this. That kind of tightens up this wrap, and it puts our wire kind of where I want it to go, which is just, it's going to be like a little crisscross right across here, as you saw. So then I would take the wire once it's already lined up and it's good positioning, and then I would twist it at that point like that. And now we're going to do our second wire. So I'm just pressing down on it, tightens up that wrap, puts the wire across here. So I'm just going to arrange it. If the flat side of your square wire got twisted, just kind of fix it by putting it back, the flat side up. So now I'm just going to grab it and twist that as well. So it's nice and symmetrical, and then all you do is just bend these back once they are lined up good, like that. And now here on the back, we are going to trim them but leave a little wire end, like that, because we are going to need that wire end. So we're going to take the little end, we're going to turn it inwards, and press that down like that. So the wire end is hidden away, and this is a connection that has been made. So I would press on this really well so that it can't move or slide around. So again, I'm just taking my wire end, I'm turning it inwards and pressing down on that. And then from the front, just want to make sure nothing has moved out of place. So now this next part is optional, but if you wanted to attach some beads for decoration to the front here, you would just need a thin little wire. I'm using 24 gauge half round. It doesn't have to be half round. You can just use round wire as well if you wanted to. I would use maybe 26 gauge or 28 gauge round if you're using round wire. I know that we used some 22 gauge half round here, but this one's a little thick in my personal opinion. So I would use something thinner if you can. It'll just make your life a little bit easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach just one side of my wire here, just because it's kind of hard to attach in the first place. So I found a little space here where I can kind of push it through. And now I'm just trying to move it up to the top here. And I'm going to use my pliers to help me. And I'm going to make some wraps here. Probably 4 wraps would be adequate to make sure it's attached pretty well. It's not really going to get pulled on. So I think all right, and then actually, did that end up being 5 wraps? No, that's 4. Then we're just gonna trim it and then take that little wire end and just kind of curve it downwards so it's going in the same direction. It's just so short since we cut it that it won't go all the way through. It'll just kind of get tucked away. And now on our wire that's going across, you just want to see what kind of beads you have that fit nicely. So for me, the best fit that I can get is 2-millimeter little beads, little copper beads. I get them from riogrande.com also. Then a 3-millimeter bead, and then, I'm sorry, 2.5-millimeter bead, then 2 more of the 2. So I just put beads that I had. I just tried them on this little wire just to see what fits across nicely. You can do a different assortment of beads that you have, and another option is you can do it here on the bottom instead of here at the top. That would look cool as well. So once you've worked that out, it is time to attach. Might be kind of hard to get this underneath, so you might have to get it through here where there's usually a little gap. And then just work that wire up. There we go. Sorry, I'm just pulling on it, but I have to cover it with my finger. There we go. And now we're just going to attach it in the same way. Alright, so my wire broke because it's just getting kind of worn out, but that's fine as long as you can kind of reach the end of it there. Alright, so I only was able to get 3 wraps down here because, as you saw, my wire broke, so it's a little bit uneven. There's more wraps on this side, so it's up to you. If something like this happens, you can either just leave it because it's a handmade, unique item. It'll have some little things like that, or you can try to remove this little wrap. So it's kind of good that it happened. You can kind of see what I do because this stuff happens as you work. it's not always perfect. So I'm just gonna trim off one little wrap, and now that I've attached these beads to the top here, just want to say that it's kind of a pain to attach them to the top because there's so little space here to work the wire through, but on the bottom little tiny gaps are formed, so I think it would have been much easier, and I would probably recommend attaching beads to the bottom, especially if you're having trouble. So that's it. Here's our little piece. Now it's just time to make the bail. So for the bail, we're going to use the same 20 gauge wire, and this is 2 inches, this little piece here. So you want to try and fold it roughly in half. It's okay if it's not perfect. And then you just want to squish. You probably have seen me make this sort of bail before, except this time it didn't squish very well. There we go. Let's try that again. There. So I like to use my bail making pliers at this point, and this gives you a lot of variety if you have like a really large necklace, although then you probably would need to cut this longer versus something small. So I usually go with one of these sizes here. I think that is like a good standard size that'll fit most necklaces. Just want that to be closed up all the way. And so your necklace can't slip out. And then now you just want to trim these little ends so they're even, just the tiniest bit. If one of them is longer than the other, if they're not, that's totally fine. And now I'm just taking the smallest little bit and I am curving. And I'm just leaving a small little gap here so that I can add my pendant. So then here's the back of my pendant. I'm gonna put it on, and now I can go ahead and close those little loops there. Just like to do one at a time. All right, here's the little pendant. Let me put it on a necklace here. So here's the completed pendant. Cute way to wrap a little round stone, and also kind of nice and simple, except for adding the beads. That was kind of a complicated portion of this, but if you add them to the bottom, it should be pretty easy. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.